You young people, you're going to pay taxes all your life. You're going to pay taxes on all the money that you make and all the money that you get. And then all of a sudden, if you die, all that money you paid taxes on gets taxed again at 45%, 55%. It's just unfair. Hurts people with homes. Hurts people where maybe the main thing they have is their home, a farm. Maybe they have a small business. That thing gets taxed at 45, 55%. Let me give you one other illustration of why what goes on in Washington just doesn't make sense. The death tax. The death tax is going to go down in 2009 to 45%. Or it's going to be at in 2009 it's going to be at 45%. In 2010, you know what the death tax is going to be? 0. And then in 2011 it's going to go back to 55%. I do not recommend being on a respirator in 2010. Only Washington, and only the politicians in Washington, could figure out how in 1 year to create a financial incentive to die. This is why we've got to change Washington. The death tax should be done away with. None of this 45%, 0, and 55%. How about we make it 0 from now on? We need to get to energy independence. We've needed to get to energy independence for a long time. I'm going to move around. President Nixon, I think, was the first president to say that. Some of you weren't born then, I think. And then it was repeated by president after president after president. It has always been a necessary thing for our economy. It has always been probably a good thing for our environment if we do it in a smart way and the right way. It is now a necessity for our national security, and we just have to get it done. And we have to get it done. We have to get it done the way we put a man on the moon. Let me just remind you of that story, or tell that story to you for those of you who didn't live through this. Way back in the late 1950s, the Soviets put the first man in space. It was a big shock. How could the Soviets, that had just a percentage of our economy, a percentage of our scientific resources, we believed only a small percentage of our ingenuity, how could they possibly put a person in space before the United States of America? It happened during President Eisenhower's presidency. President Eisenhower was stunned and angry. And President Eisenhower committed us to getting ahead of that. And then President Kennedy took over. And President Kennedy committed us to getting to the moon before they did. And he improved on what Eisenhower started. And then President Johnson, in tragedy, took over from President Kennedy. And he improved on what President Kennedy did. And moved us even closer to getting a man on the moon and getting ahead of the Soviets. And then President Nixon got it done. That's the kind of cooperation we need. That's what we've got to go back to. 2 Republican presidents, 2 Democratic presidents. What's their goal? Not just the good of their political party, not just a couple of points from my side and a couple of points from your side. Their goal is the better good of the United States of America. And they committed themselves to it, and they got it done. I can get things done. I proved it before, and I will do it